Welcome everyone to the Minnesota Association for College Association Counseling Virtual College Fair. We're so excited to have you here today. We have some fantastic schools here. They're going to give you some tremendous advice and information. My name's Greg and I'll be your facilitator. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Number one, your camera and your microphone are turned off so the panelists cannot see or hear you. Please use the Q&A button that you see down at the bottom of your screen, that black Q&A button, for any questions that you have for our presenters, and you can answer those or present those questions at any time. This is just one of many different sessions happening. Be sure to check out the entire schedule on the website. And as a reminder, this presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/Minnesota. And I'll drop that address in the chat for you to take a look at. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to our first presenter, Jen from Pine Technical and Community College. Take it away.
Hi, thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone's time. I want to first of all say congratulations on making this decision to attend this afternoon session. You're on your way to beginning that exploration process, and that's just a wonderful thing. Before we get into it, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and excuse the clunkiness here. And presenters, if you could let me know if you're able to see the full screen at all.
Yep, you're good.
Perfect. Full screen. Wonderful. So, college can really help you learn new skills, make more money, get a job you enjoy, right? This is kind of probably why you're here. You see some of the value in college and you're not quite sure, maybe you're unfamiliar. You can maybe make your family proud, feel good about yourself by making the decision to attend college. And so you can have all of this and more by making college a part of your future. And that's kind of what we'll get into today in terms of that idea of Undecided. But first, I'd like to introduce all our panel instructors for today. Jen, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I am Jen Pargros. I am the Midwest Regional Director for the University of Denver. I'm actually based in Illinois and I work with students in the Midwest, so Minnesota is part of my territory. And we have about 30% of our students coming in undeclared and undecided. We'll talk a little bit more about our institutions as we go along, but I applaud you for coming and joining us today. And I want you to know you guys are in the majority. Most of the students come in undeclared or undecided. I'll pass it off to Lacey.
Hi there, my name is Lacey Seafelt. I'm one of the freshman admissions counselors at the University of Wisconsin-Stout, located in Menominee, Wisconsin. We're about an hour from the Twin Cities metro area, just over the border into Wisconsin. We have about 40% of our incoming first year class every year is undecided. So yes, it's a very common thing to not be quite sure what you want to do.
And hi, my name is Erica Greeley, and I'm from Northern Michigan University, and about 21% of our incoming freshmen are undecided. So again, very common, very normal, very okay.
Next, we had Javier Salinas joining us previously on helping us design this slide. He is not able, as at last minute, to join us from Normandale Community College, but we also provided some resources from his college as well. And I'm Jen Rancor. I'm with Pine Technical and Community College, and we're a small campus in Minnesota, about halfway in between Minneapolis and Duluth. And yes, we have a number of students and a lot of resources for those that identify as being undecided as well. So I'd like to share a bit on the scope of what we're discussing with you today. So we think there are 5 important considerations for students who identify as undecided. And so we'll first share on different characteristics of what undecided means. And then Lacey from University of Wisconsin-Stout will share on career exploration resources. Erica from Northern Michigan University will share tips on how to find your college fit, with Jennifer from the University of Denver sharing on varying types of colleges there are to choose from, and finding out and having a discussion about what types of services, as you are an incoming student, that could be at potential colleges of your choice. And then we also have designed this presentation to include an opportunity for you to ask questions. There is the Q&A button and feature, so please use that Q&A button and we'll do our best to address those as well. So what are the characteristics of being undecided or undeclared? So let's just see the context of what that means. Do you identify with maybe one of the following? Maybe you're unready to make educational or career choices. You have a tentative decision. You're not quite sure. You're maybe bouncing off from a couple of choices. Maybe you don't even know where to start looking. Maybe you can't make up your mind. You know what you don't like, right? But you're having a hard time pinpointing on what you really feel passionate about. Maybe you applied to your first choice and you didn't get in, or you thought you had a clear path and now you're not so sure. I really, really want to encourage you that if you're not sure, it's okay. You're part of 75% of American college students who are either start their college career as undecided or changing your major at least once. And so we're going to get into some details on how to prepare, along with some practical examples from our differences at our colleges. So here's some things to consider first. You're not stuck in any one major of study. I personally changed my major 8 times. I'm not even kidding, 8 times in my college career. And I also attended 3 different colleges. And so it's really, really, something I'm so grateful for that opportunity and all the experiences that I had during that time of exploring, because it got me thinking of what I wanted to do. It got me where I am today, and I'm doing something, I'm earning money and I'm doing something that I love to do. And so you can also maybe even take a class and find a subject that you are passionate about that you would want to pursue as a major. Possibly the checking with your college of choice and selecting, and I want to point this out, you may need to select general studies or what's called liberal arts instead of the undeclared. To receive financial award packages. I know that's true in Minnesota, and receiving scholarships. So just pay attention to that. There are plenty of general study programs to be able to get you on that path and stay flexible as you're making those decisions. So Lacey's going to now share some practical resources to start exploring. And lastly, a tip that I want you, maybe you want to write it down, to ask colleges. So it's always something good to ask when you're visiting colleges. I recommend visiting multiple colleges as you make your decision. But you can ask, what does your institution do to help still deciding students achieve a degree? And so next, Lacey's going to take it from here.
All right, so we want to help you be proactive in researching careers, because you have some time yet. You're not starting college tomorrow. To actually dig into to research and explore, you might as well take this opportunity to utilize some of the resources at your fingertips to do some career exploration, to try and figure out what you might want to do. So why research? Well, to spot any disadvantages that there might be for that particular career industry. Maybe it's the level of education and you don't necessarily want to commit to being in school for 6 years or 8 years if it's a more advanced degree that's needed for that particular career industry. Maybe it's the pay, or maybe it's the work hours. It'll allow you to consider job outlook. Will there be jobs available in that particular field or industry upon graduation? It'll allow you to learn more about yourself and really understanding more about the world of work and what your work values might be. Do you want that 9 to 5 pace, or do you want nothing to do with that 9 to 5? Like, I want a flexible working schedule, because that might be part of that career exploration process too, and what careers might be a good fit for you or not. And it opens your mind to options that you don't know about right now. Like, you don't know what you don't know, and so utilizing some of those career exploration websites and strategies will allow you to really dig into some options that maybe you didn't realize were a possibility for you. And so some of those strategies include some website resources, and we're going to talk about some examples of some web resources coming up here next. Informational interviewing can be really impactful to actually it's like an interview of an industry professional to learn a little bit more about what that person does and if they enjoy it, to learn about different job fields that you might be interested in pursuing. And then career assessments, some of them are really elaborate, well-researched career assessments that we might even offer at our universities, but there are some great web career assessments too online that you can do for free right now to point you in the right direction. So I have an example here, and there's a QR code on the slide that you can scan, and it will take you right to this interest test. And it's only 30 questions. It's mobile optimized to be very easy to take really quickly on your phone. So feel free to listen in, but make sure after the session that you go out and actually complete this assessment, because this is a really great way to get started with exploring different career opportunities on Career One Stop's interest test. So when you take the interest test, at the very end, it's going to come up with a career code based on what you're most interested in. So this is just an example of what one of those reports will look like at the very end of the test, that those 30 questions that you will answer based on what you're interested in. And this particular example is an artistic, conventional, social person. And therefore I can take that career interest code and actually search for careers based on jobs that kind of use that interest, like that are more artistically or conventionally inclined. And so I want to break down a little bit more for you what that really means. And the websites do a great job explaining as well. But the career interest codes, again, there are 6 of them. The first one is realistic. Those are the doers. They're the ones that prefer to work with objects and machines and tools. They're really practical, really straightforward and systematic type of individuals. There's the more investigative people that really like to analyze and observe and solve problems, and really like to work independently, but they're very logical and curious. Maybe I'm describing you. Does that describe you at all? Maybe artistic. Maybe you're more interested in imagination and creativity. Those folks tend to really like to play instruments or act or dance and sing, like to draw or paint, maybe like to create designs, maybe doodle a little bit on the side. Those are the more artistically inclined folks. The next career code is social. Those are the helpers. Those are the people that like working with people to inspire them, inform them, help. The helping professions are all typically associated with being a social person. Those are the folks that really that are a little bit more outgoing, like to work with people in that way. Enterprising is next. Those are the persuaders. They're maybe a little bit more energetic or persuasive. They want to lead others and influence change and really achieve organizational financial goals. And then finally, the last career code is conventional. Those are the folks that like to work with information, really like to carry out those detailed specific tasks. They like clerical numeric work, and that's really what their thing is working with numbers, using the computer, collecting data. So then you'll get that code at the end of that interest assessment, and you can actually use it on any number of these sites. Career One Stop is a wonderful resource. ONET Online also has its own career test. That's a 60-question one that you could take. And then CareerWise, Minnesota State's, you're probably a little bit more familiar with that career exploration site, but any number of these will help you to explore your different opportunities. So we'll take a look at Career One Stop here first. You're able to take an interest assessment, and that's what I just talked you through, but you're also able to take a skills assessment and a work values assessment to learn a little bit more about yourself and what you might be interested in based on those things. You can search by career cluster, career profile. There's a lot of videos and other things that you can look at to explore different opportunities. The other one is ONET, great reputation. And you can search by that career code for jobs that match what career codes come up in your results. Or you can, again, search by career cluster, industry, job family. There's just a lot of different ways to dig in. So no matter which one you choose to look at, pick one of those sites and spend a little bit more time on it, digging into researching those different career fields, because these are 3 just tools to help you get started and to recommend some ideas that might be a good fit for you based on your own interest and skills and so forth. But next, I'm going to turn it over to Erica to start talking about finding your college fit.
So thank you, Lacey. We're going to cover some resources that are going to be kind of helpful. And what I'll say is that there are just under 4,000 different universities in the United States alone. So that can be kind of overwhelming. And if you're not sure what you want to study, that can be a lot. So we're going to give you some tools today. What I will say is that the more you engage with colleges and universities, the more you're going to understand what your perfect school is, because there is one out there for you. So we're going to talk about 6 areas of fit today. These are by no means the only areas to consider. These are just some good starting points. You may find that there are some that you really connect with, some that you connect with more than others. Great. Take what is useful and let the rest go. So let's start with geographic fit. So when you're thinking about geographic location, obviously, so how close are you to home? How far are you from home? Do you need to be able to get home pretty easily? Do you want to get the heck out of here? Where do you want to go? What do you want the weather to be like? Do you want there to be warm weather all year round? Do you want 4 distinct seasons? Do you want to be in a big city? Do you want to be in a small town? Do you want to be somewhere in between? And then what's around you? Do you want campus to blend into the environment or kind of be its own thing? Then you want to think about this numeric fit, or size often was what comes to mind here. So how big is the institution? How big are the class sizes? So there are some universities that have 80,000 students. There are some that have less than 1,000, and there are tons in between, right? If you're in a classroom, some students do really well in a large classroom setting, and others prefer to be in a smaller setting. And then if you're also thinking about that numeric fit and you're thinking about size, how big is campus? Can you walk where you need to go? Do you need to drive? Do you need a car? What does that look like for you? And then you also want to think too about maybe diversity. What are those makeups? What does that look like on that campus? What are the numbers? Where are students coming from? And then there's this academic fit. So you want to think, okay, I'm here because I don't know what I want to study. We know that. But if you have some things that you're thinking about, does the school offer that? Okay. If you're not sure what you want to study, you probably don't want to go to a music conservatory, because music is the focus. You want to go somewhere where you have options. What sort of support is there for undecided students? And we're going to talk about that today during our presentation some more. Can you change your mind? What happens? Can I make a switch? Is that a big deal? And then can I take courses or explore areas that I'm not majoring in? Is that an option too? And then what is my academic experience going to be? Am I going to have internship opportunities, study abroad, hands-on learning, research? What sort of things am I going to do that are going to help me figure out what I love and what I hate, so that I can pivot if I need to, or I can dig deeper into those programs that I'm excited about? Then there's this social fit. And a lot of times people think that this is kind of frivolous, but it's actually really important, because this is going to be your home for the next 2 years or 4 years or however long your program is. So regardless of whether it's residential, meaning that students live on campus, or non-residential, meaning they live off campus, that's your home, right? So do you want to live on campus, or do you want to live off? Can you see yourself in this environment with these professors, in these classes, interacting with these students? Can you see these students being your friends? What sort of activities and organizations are there? Are there any that kind of excite you that you want to get involved in? Can you see yourself being part of this community and bringing what you have to share? And then there's this emotional fit, which is a little bit harder to describe, but sometimes students get this gut feeling of this feels good or this feels right. And that's important to pay attention to because it ends up being right later on. And then, of course, there's the one that's often most important for families, which is a financial fit. So looking at the cost, looking at the whole picture, what sort of financial aid, scholarships am I getting? And then what is the bottom line? Is that something that my family and I can afford? Now, the best way for you to start to figure this out is, attending presentations like this, but to visit. Okay, so visit a campus. Now, the silver lining of this pandemic is that we all have really amazing virtual resources for you, where you can take virtual tours and do all sorts of other things. But also physically visiting campus, there's nothing quite like it, right? So when you come, you can see, and we've kind of laid this out for you using our institutions as a guide here, but we're different. And we're all going to have a different feel. We're all different a little bit using those areas of fit that we talked about and looking at other areas. So what you'll notice and you'll see is that you can see our visit sites in each of these places here, but you can compare side by side each institution and kind of what we have to offer here. And now we're going to go on to Jen. There's two Jens in our presentation today, but Jen is going to take it over and talk about types of colleges in the college search process.
Thank you so much, Erica. You guys have taken in a lot of information so far, and coming in undecided might seem like there's a lot of work to it, but I just want to let you know that it is okay to be where you're at and to be undecided, and to come in not knowing exactly what you want to do in a career field or in an academic area. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the types of colleges that you can look at. There are a variety of different types of colleges out there. There's the technical college, and this will offer different certificates or diplomas, sometimes an associate's degree, but it's really a hands-on career-focused area. So it's usually about 10 months to 2 years to complete something along those lines. So it's very specialized in that way. Community colleges are 2-year colleges that offer associate degrees. There are some that do have some on-campus housing. A large majority don't, and they're catering to the community that they're in. So their audience is a wide variety of different types of students. They'll have students coming in from high school. You'll have students coming in that are adult learners that are continuing on with their education, some that have families and may have to do night and weekend classes. So you're going to see there's a different sort of flexibility there, and that is another type of institution. Then you have the private career schools, and these are really specific for training things like a CDL. That would be a truck driving, learning how to do those skills so that you could drive across and deliver goods. Massage therapy, there's cosmetology. So those are things that are very specialized in areas that usually take some sort of certification or licensing that you would take at a private career school. And then you have the 4-year universities, and the typical offering for a 4-year university is a bachelor's degree. Some of them will have master's degree programs and doctoral programs, those pre-professional areas, but they have a wide variety of different types of academics that's spread across the spectrum. So you're able to try different things in different areas, and it allows you a little bit more opportunities that way. So when you look at our types of schools, you're going to see here that we are all very different in what we offer. There's similarities with numbers, and that's why I think visiting is super important. So with the University of Denver, we're out of state, private, medium-sized school, and we offer a bachelor's degree, and that's our focus. But we also have master's, doctoral, and then the JD degree, which is a law program. We're on a quarter system, which is a different academic calendar than a lot of other schools. And so we require 3 out of 4 quarters, and students will take about 4 classes per quarter. So they're taking 12 to 18 classes for the year. Semester system is another type of program. So you can have semesters where there's 2 semesters, where there's 2 semesters in a May term or a J term, which offers 1 class during that 1-month period. And then there's also schools that offer 1 class at a time. So when you're looking at schools, also consider the academic calendar that's available as well. You'll see that Stout is a 4-year public and offers the bachelor and the master's degree. It's the only polytech university in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And then you have Northern Michigan, which is a 4-year and 2-year public, and they offer certification programs. You've got Pine Tech and Community College, again, 2 years. They've got the technical college and the community college. So there's multiple types of credentials you can get there. And then with Normandale, that is a 2-year community college, and they offer a variety of associate degrees, whether it's art, fine arts, science, or even applied science, as well as certificates. So it is perfectly okay to come in as an undecided student, but there are some areas when you're applying to schools where you might want to choose an area or a major to go into, because there's different things that you want, whether it's specialized, competitive, maybe there's a large area of requirements that you have to do to get to that next level. So there's a sequence of things. But when you're looking at applying to schools, if you are coming in, and I always say when you're looking at those ones that might be a 4-year that have the sequence, any school that offers engineering or music, those are very stringent programs. It is better to come in as an engineer and get out of it than to come in as something else and get into it because of the sequence. Same sort of thing with music. There's a large requirement of classes that you have to take to go on to the next one. So you want to make sure that you're coming in to those areas. And keeping along the lines of the fine arts, when you're looking at music, art, and theater, there may be special auditions, there might be portfolio reviews, and those are part of the application process. And so if you're considering those areas, sometimes you have to be a major in those areas to receive a scholarship solely based on that talent that you have. So it is better to come in listing that. When you're looking at competitive majors, the one that comes to mind for me is nursing. Nursing has very limited spaces at most colleges and universities. And if you're looking at the nursing area, you want to make sure that that is something you're applying to early on, so that if you're going to get into those programs, you can definitely have that opportunity. And then there's things like directly admits and 4+1 majors. Those are the types of programs where, like, maybe it's an accounting where you have the accounting program and you're going on for that accountancy degree, or you're coming in and it's a direct entry for like a school of business. So those might be areas where you want to define a specific major that you're coming into. It's also okay to define it as undecided or undeclared. So you might come in and do undecided business or undeclared sciences. That's also a strategy that you might want to consider as well as you're looking at those. So now let's take a look at, once you've applied to these schools and been admitted, now you're on campus, what happens next if you still don't know what you want to do, which is the majority of students. So let's take a look here at some of the support that we have. There's a lot of things, and we've already talked about some of them. There's the advising options. There's different career centers on each of the campuses that are there to help students. You know, we talked about some of the testing that you can do to find out maybe where your strengths are, where the areas of interest are. But a lot of times you can just take some classes, because when you're looking at the class curriculum, many schools have a foundation that you take that gives you kind of a background of liberal arts, especially when you're looking at the 4-year schools, but also you'll have a little bit of flexibility to try things too. There are electives that you take, and those are classes that might not go towards a major or minor. So you're really not going to lose any ground just for trying something you might be interested in. So that's how you can definitely explore those classes. And then there's things called living learning communities on a lot of college campuses. This allows an incoming first-year student an opportunity to live on a floor or in a house with students with that common interest. So for instance, if you're interested in environmental sustainability, maybe you apply for that program and get into it, and you're in a floor or a house with students with that common interest, taking a class in that area, exploring some opportunities, and probably giving back to the community in some manner. Maybe you are going out and working with middle schools. So this gives you an opportunity to try things without having to have that commitment just yet. And then also, as you're going through the undecided area, there's ways that you can create your own major. Maybe you come in and you're looking at, you know, there's things that blend together really well. So someone might come in and think, you know, I'm interested in business, and then they might decide marketing. Well, psychology goes very well with marketing, because you're trying to read people's mind, discover what they want to do, how they react to different things like colors and what type of feelings that evokes when you're doing the branding and the marketing aspect. You also have areas that are more specialized, where you're coming in and you're getting some hands-on right away. Maybe it's coming in and working with a hospitality management program where you're actually have an events planning center on campus you can get some exposure to as well. So you're going to try different things. You can create your own major. And there's also opportunities for doing things where it's more than just one major. Very easy to take double majors, majors and double minors, majors, minors, and concentrations across several different disciplines, or even emphases or areas where you've taken enough classes where you're not necessarily getting a minor, but you do have an emphasis in that area. And it is perfectly okay to change your major. You are not necessarily having to declare a major until probably around your sophomore or junior year when you're in college. When you're coming in and you're filling out that application and you're putting down an area, you are not set in stone to keep that as a major for 4 years. That is really an indicator to us where your interest is right now at the moment. And that allows us to give you additional information on those specific areas. So maybe you've put down biological sciences, or undecided biology. This allows us to get you more information in that area to see if there's anything that's really going to resonate with you early on. And maybe you get an email from a faculty member that's doing maybe a presentation in your area that you go to. It gives you some exposure to those things that you are currently interested in. But again, you're not held in stone to keep those majors. You can only really declare a major once you are a student on campus taking classes. So just know that you do have some flexibility. And then a lot of times there's continuing support for alumni, because we technically will change our field of what we're doing 3 different times. So while you might think you're going to go into one area, maybe 5 years down the line, you're changing to another profession. That's not uncommon, and that's okay. So with the support that we have, we just wanted to share with you some of the things that we have and that we offer. And a lot of us have career development centers on campus that kind of have that focal point. And some of us also have a variety of different different opportunities for our students that are coming in, whether they're like first generation students, whether there's leadership opportunities or coaching opportunities. There are things on campus that we want our students to know that are available for you to become successful, whether it's trying to find that major and what really resonates with you, or just go ahead and maybe bring in something else that's going to complement it once you decide where your area is. These career centers are not just for resume writing and interviewing. They're there to help you, through that 4 years and even into your alumni programs. So now we have a question for you. So we are all in the field of admissions. However, do you think we majored in that field? So we're going to pose the question to you. You don't have to necessarily answer it, but kind of think in your mind where you think what we might have majored in when we were in college. So we're going to reveal it to you, and then we're going to start to do some Q&A. I know we've got some questions here. We've kind of answered some of them, but we're going to go ahead a little more in depth into those areas. And here's where we have our majors. So I actually was an art major and a theater minor, and I actually had my admissions profession was my work study. So I worked as a tour guide, I worked at the front desk, and I also worked in the financial aid office. Lacey, you want to talk a little bit about your area?
Sure, yeah. I was a psychology major and I minored in human development and family studies. And as part of my being a psych student, I oversaw the psychology tutoring center. And a lot of professors would drop off students for me to have conversations with about what their plan was for classes and what career goals they had. And I really loved working with students and helping on that like academic advising piece kind of in an informal way. And I'm like, well, how do I make this into a career? And so I stumbled upon a college counseling and student development master's program, and I decided to go after that and graduated with my master's in college counseling and student development because I wanted to work with college students in maybe an academic advising center. But the most closest job to my house at the time happened to be for an admissions advisor role, and I was like, well, I'll go after that and see where it takes me. Well, fast forward over 10 years, and I have been working in college admissions ever since. I really, really absolutely love it.
And I majored in theater and German with a film studies concentration. And I worked in the admissions office as a tour guide and then as a tour guide supervisor. So, excuse me, I sort of fell into it as well.
I'm Jen, and I mentioned at the beginning that I changed my major 8 times, right? I did end up earning a bachelor's degree in writing, and it really afforded me. I worked with a career counselor and an advisor on my campus because I was so close. I had so many credits accumulated and I kept jumping around, and I was like, my family really wants me to walk away with a credential, with a degree in hand, and not just piecing together a ton of different classes. And what she really, really taught me and encouraged me to do a career class and a career exploration class so I could dream, take a reality check, figure out really what I wanted to do. And I still wanted to remain flexible because I wanted some work experience, some real life experience. And so writing and communications really afforded me that continued flexibility while also getting a degree. And that's what worked for me. I've done a ton of different jobs in all of areas of the community. I've been an executive pastor at a local church. I've worked for a public health, our county. I've worked with different community groups. I've been a kindergarten teacher. I've just done a ton of different areas and a ton of different communities. And I'm so grateful to be able to help at the college level in higher education of what that looks like for college students, and really share my strength, experience, and hope in that. And that's kind of what all of our roles in admissions, just kind of we help along the way and we guide people along the way as they're exploring college as well.
And Javier could be with us again today, but he majored in applied economics and then also Spanish and Portuguese studies. So I think what this goes to show you is that where we intended to be, or what our initial thoughts were, are not where we found ourselves to be. What really resonates with us is helping you, students, kind of find that fit, whether it's our institution or another institution. And so we've got our contact information and information that you can get about admissions for any of our schools listed down here. So you can take that QR code or that URL, and you can also ask us any questions privately as well. But really, just know that you are in the majority of students coming in. You don't have to necessarily know exactly what you want to do. And like it was said earlier, it's a feeling when you're on a campus, and sometimes you can't explain it. And sometimes it doesn't come to you exactly what it is till you've been on campus as a student for a couple of years. So as your parents are asking you, what do you want to major in? Why is it this school? You can give them some answers that keep you wide open, but they also kind of allow you to provide an answer and kind of put them at ease. But when you're looking at majors and you're not sure yet, if you say liberal arts, it kind of keeps you wide open because you are looking at everything right now. You don't have any commitments at any specific areas. Maybe you have inklings, and that's perfectly okay. And so feel free to say, yeah, I think I'm just going to do liberal arts right now and see what really resonates me when I'm in school. You have that flexibility and that opportunity. And then as you're, I was thinking of the other train of thought. So as you're looking at the schools and you get that gut feeling, sometimes it's really hard to explain to them and they keep going, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that way? It's because something that is there at that school feels like home. And if you tell your parents that will put them at ease and they'll understand it just a little bit more. So we really want you to know that don't feel anxious about this. We are here to help you. And as you notice, there are things all along the way, whether you're just starting out, applying to school, or you're on a college campus, that will help you find those areas. And I know we have a couple questions. We kind of answered them along the ways, but I want to pose them for our panel right here. And one of them comes from Douglas, who wants to know, my interests are across the board: criminal justice, journalism, psychology, maybe healthcare, or a medical career. Should I pick one and just start taking classes towards a degree, or is there a better way to figure out which one is right for me? Who would like to tackle that question?
I am happy to. So I think obviously everything, it's always really good to check with the institution, but I think that at a lot of institutions, it's great to come in sort of unsure, because there are courses that you're going to need to take to get your degree. And that's a good place for you to try some stuff out, get a feel for what you like and what you don't like. Try some things out while progressing through your degree. Now, there are some programs where they're pretty sequential. So if a student is thinking about going into med school, that's a possibility, or going into nursing school, it's probably a good idea to err on the side of caution and list that as the major, so that you can start to take the classes you need. And then if you need to switch, it's okay, because you have started down the path and are better set up to do the major if you need to.
Excellent advice. Anybody else? We have another question here. Is it simple to switch majors? And that comes from Wyatt.
I can take that one, since I did it literally 8 times. And I was someone that I was excited about everything. So like whatever kind of elective classes I had for my first semester, I was like, I'm going to major in that. And then my second semester I had like an aerobics class. And I'm like, I'm going to major in kinesiology, and couldn't even pronounce it. And I actually went through it wasn't just like a thought, oh, I'm going to do it and declare it. It was natural. I went through the paperwork process, and it's really because it is quite simple. I know at our campus at Pine Technical and Community College, it's an online form that you can change it, you can add, and we're a little different where we're more sequential, like Jen G had mentioned, as far as if you want to get done, and if you have a certain time frame in mind that you'd like to do, it probably is beneficial to really make that decision. But also, or if you're kind of tying across on a couple of different, you kind of have things narrowed down between 3 or 4 areas, and look at, okay, my first semester might not be exactly all of this set, but is it a couple, like those psychology classes that could benefit multiple, or in English, most of the degrees, especially with bachelor degrees, they have at least 40 credits that are those general education studies. And when we're thinking of credits and we're thinking of how long do I want to be in school, typically the bachelor degrees are about 120 credits, and between 3 and 4 credits are the class amount. And so you can really be flexible and not have to put yourself in a window, but there are some programs that are sequential like that. And so you just kind of want to pay attention and piece that together. But it is quite simple to change that major. It's just a matter of what is your end goal? Are you doing it solely to get those credits and to be done in a certain time frame? Or is it, I want the experience. I want to be able to be that class is interesting to me, and I really want to use it at exploring. And, if I take my chances that it's not going to translate and be part of transferring over to another major, that's okay too. I actually took an additional year because I changed my major, and I took a break as well. And that was something that I needed, that work experience to really know and understand myself a little bit more, because I just needed to do more of that self-exploration. But I knew and that was another benefit of the 2-year, earning a 2-year liberal arts degree, because then I took a break and also went to work, and then and I could get a higher paying job because I had some credential. I had an associate degree, and then I could pick that up and transfer it. That's been my personal experience. And I know a lot of, as an associate of arts, liberal arts advisor, I also know a lot of students that have done that when they still don't know after a couple of semesters what they like to do.
And we have one more question that popped up. Can I major in a language like Spanish and take a class in that language? After BS, I want to get a teaching license and become a teacher as language immersion. And really quickly, you asked the right question there. It's all about licensing and certification, because it doesn't matter if you're majoring in education or taking it along the lines of a pre-professional, where you're taking the language as your main focus, as the area of expertise, and then going on to learn how to teach it. But that is actually what you want to do. You can get licensing and certification in a bachelor's degree, and then you can go on and get your master's sometime in dual degrees within one area. Lacey, anything to add for that one?
I think we're about at time, so that was good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for a great session and for some great information. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 5-question survey, and we'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. We encourage you to check back on the schedule, sign up for additional sessions. There are still sessions and it's not too late. And lastly, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the sessions recordings at strivescan.com/Minnesota. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.